Jays fans are absolutely livid at this, as following the Jays getting absolutely robbed by the MLB in yesterday night's game, one of the worst umpiring performances you will ever see. John Schneider has come out and made some shocking comments surrounding that situation. And despite it being a brutal loss for the Jays, fans can't help but think that they got absolutely screwed. We're going to break that down and discuss exactly what John Schneider said, as well as break down multiple Jays updates ahead of tonight's game where they start a new series against the Orioles. A ton to go over today, but before we get into it, part of the percentage you aren't subscribed to the channel, it's the place to be for daily Jays content. This is the place to be for post-game videos, everything like that. So if you guys want to help me and support me, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support, as we are on the road now to 17,000 subscribers. We're getting very, very close to that goal. So thank you guys for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some footage to go over today. There's a bunch of things, and in case you missed it yesterday, there was just a smorgasbord of horrific calls from the umpire. And of course, I had a whole video on it last night. The Jays got completely robbed. I mean, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it was a horrible display of refereeing. Really captivated by this pitch that should have been called a strike, was clearly in the zone, all these different things. And I can go on and on about how bad the umpiring was. I'm going to go over a little bit of them now. You have the Davis Schneider infamous at bat that was too clearly like 3-4 inches, and we still at the time of recording haven't gotten the umpire scorecard yet, which I'm sure is going to paint another picture about how bad Manny Gonzalez truly was. You're missing calls on Vladdy on the inside corner in strike one, which inevitably led to him getting an RBI, but still grounding out nonetheless. And ladies and gentlemen, regardless of this, I've now had some time to think about it. I'm still pretty mad, and not at the fact that necessarily the Jays lost the game. I think they played really well, and we'll dive into some comments from John Schneider that backs that up. But it was just a disastrous performance from the umpires. Let's go over the missed calls. That strike, clearly a strike, called a ball. That 4 inches outside, that was a ball, called a strike. 2 inches down below, also called a strike in the same at bat. The Vladdy pitch I just mentioned, inside. George Springer, clearly, it was a bit tight. That one up there, clearly a ball. And these are, of course, according to Baseball Savant. So the zone on the actual, TV screen isn't necessarily fully accurate, but it was pretty darn accurate, especially for tonight. And again, the Vladdy one we saw, the Bichette one was just terrible. And of course, it was brutal, especially there late in the game. That's when things got really, really rough. And in case you missed it, just a bunch of missed calls for Manny Gonzalez, and just something that's, very unfortunate for Jays fans out there. Again, to kind of wrap it up here on the inside, you have George Springer, the one that should have been called a strike, down below. The Davis Schneider one, so high, it's unbelievable. And again, 2 times for Manny Gonzalez, one of the worst umpiring performances you will ever see. And John Schneider spoke out about it, and he said this: "It's tough to battle 9 hitters and an umpire. I've got all the respect in the world for them, but it wasn't a great day for him behind the plate." And this is I'm happy that John Schneider said it, though I'm a little bit shocked because this is almost a guaranteed fine for John Schneider. He's basically coming out and saying you're battling multiple people. And to be fair, the loss yesterday, and again, we have a bunch of injury updates to go over, which we'll dive into in a second here. The loss yesterday, I'm not disappointed at all. I think I'm disappointed in the umpires. I'm disappointed in the result. But as it pertains to the process, yeah, the offense wasn't great. The umpires were absolutely terrible. But you had some, shining lights. Tyner Heineman had a fantastic game. The offense will eventually get going. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. You see here, Manny Gonzalez back in June had one of the worst games of the year for any umpire. So it's like you kind of had to expect that with Manny Gonzalez, but a ton of missed calls. The Jays' offense was lackluster, but at the end of the day, I do want to see, Anthony Santander, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., those guys really start to step up now, because at the point where they haven't this season, Santander hasn't gotten a big hit. He hasn't gotten a homer. Vladdy hasn't gotten a homer. Bo hasn't gotten a homer. Andres Jimenez has been cooling down a bit. So the real storyline here, yes, the umpires were terrible, but the way that they've battled was very impressive still, despite the lack of home runs. You can see this here. John Schneider praises players multiple times tonight for playing their butts off in Boston. Chris Bassett echoed that, praising the gritty wins. As long as we're keeping our team in the ballpark, so to speak, we're going to win a lot of games. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it comes down to. The team is playing good baseball. Their defense yesterday took a bit of a hiccup. The pitching was fantastic. And I think if the starting pitching can continue to not give up home runs, continue to just give up 1 to 2 to 3 runs a game, this team's going to be fine. And you're coming in now to Baltimore in Camden Yards, where you're still waiting for your top 3 to get a home run. I think it's going to start with tonight. And hopefully, we won't get Manny Gonzalez, but hopefully the umpires are a little bit better tonight, because, I'm still livid about the umpiring part of it. The rest, sure. Bring me the automatic strike zone. That's what I'm saying. Bring it to me. And it would have been very helpful here. This would have been a strikeout, and who knows if Nick Sandlin could have got out of the inning. A very good chance he would have if we had the not automated strike zone, but strike challenges, the ABS system, because ultimately that would have been a clear challenge. But unfortunately, we got to witness a masterclass of I guess a disaster class surrounding the umpires. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. And let's dive into some of the updates now. The Toronto Blue Jays play a game tonight. That's obviously the beauty of baseball. You really have to just let things go. The Jays are still sitting atop the AL East, kind of. They're technically at this point they are, but again, the Yankees are right on their tail. The Yankees have one less win and one less loss. The Jays, of course, have one more win, one more loss. So it's going to be very interesting. And they play tonight against the Baltimore Orioles, and we have the pitching plan that has been revealed from Ben Nicholson-Smith. It came out late last night. So obviously in today's game, you have Bowden, Francis going in there, and also, I guess technically the Jays are no longer atop of the AL East. I think the Yankees' win percentage is like 0.12 points higher because they're 7-5 and the Jays are 8-6. So technically, the Jays are no longer atop the AL East thanks to Manny Gonzalez. But regardless of that, or Manny Ramirez, sorry, you can see this here. Bowden Francis versus Sugano on Friday. Saturday, which is today, obviously. Saturday is José Berríos versus Cade Povich. And then Sunday, Eason Lucas versus to be determined. So, honestly, I think the Jays can take care of business here. They split the home opening series. I was actually at that series, and the two of the games I went to were the two games they lost. So good for us Jays fans. I'm not there, but Bowden Francis versus Sugano. The Jays should tee off of Sugano, and I think if there's any team where you can really start to pencil in some home runs, it would hopefully be against this starting pitching staff. It's not very good. Their starting pitchers are terrible. They lost Corbin Burns. They've been terrible since then. Bowden Francis is hopefully going to have a bounce back. He had a fantastic start last time, but another great start. Because, again, at the end of the day here, the Jays need to win these games, especially the games against the AL East opponents. You're at a point now where you've played AL East opponents. This is the third series where you play AL East opponents. Of course, we went Orioles, Nationals, Mets, and then, of course, the Red Sox. Now back to the Orioles. You're 2-2 with the Orioles. You have to, get these wins going. The Orioles at some point are going to start playing better baseball, and the Jays, I'm sure, at some point are going to start playing worse baseball to some degree. And to stack up as many wins as you can against these AL East opponents is going to be huge for tiebreakers and just for everything going forward. And most importantly, for the standings, because the Jays have yet to play the Yankees this year. That's going to be a series coming up in the month of April. So it's going to be a very, very interesting time. And one other thing, again, just to throw this out here, I covered this a couple days ago as well. We had some other updates. Dalton Varsho, again, like I mentioned, he's progressing really well at the same distance at 150 and 165 feet. And the reason I bring this up, as well as Eric Swanson throwing another bullpen, they're aiming for later, this upcoming week. They desperately need Eric Swanson back, and they desperately need Dalton Varsho back. Getting both of these guys back is going to do wonders for this team. And I bring that up because you go up against the Orioles. If you can just tread water for the next 10 15 games, you get everybody back, and then by the end of this month, the next 30 35 games, the schedule gets way easier. You'll be fully healthy. Vladdy's extended. Things are looking good on that front. You'll be good to go. So hopefully the Jays can go ahead and take care of business tonight. We should have a video following tonight's game, but a little bit iffy on that. We'll keep you up to date in the community tab. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below what your thoughts are, and hopefully we don't get Manny any time